Among the best African folk tales passed down through generations, none speaks more truly of love and justice than this story from the ancient kingdom of Umuofia. In this blessed land, where palm trees swayed in the morning breeze and evening fires lit up storytellers' faces, lived a king whose heart was as wide as the river that flowed through his land. King Obi wasn't like other rulers who hid behind palace walls. Every morning, as the sun climbed over the hills, he would walk through the marketplace. He carried a simple walking stick made from the sacred Iroko tree and wore the traditional beaded crown that marked him as both king and servant of the people. In Umuofia, tradition ran deep as tree roots. Each family kept an ofor, a sacred staff passed down from father to son. The most powerful ofor belonged to the Uzor, the kingdom's spiritual guardian. Without the Uzor's blessing, no king could rule, no marriage could be blessed, no festival could begin. 3 times each week, King Obi would sit under the great Udala tree to hear his people's troubles. "A king's ears must be as open as his heart," he would say, quoting one of the best African folktales his father had taught him. When drought came, he opened the royal yam barns. When floods destroyed homes, he sheltered families in the palace. But even the sweetest honey can hide bitter medicine. Queen Amara, King Obi's first wife, came from the powerful Nze clan. Her dowry had included 20 cows, 15 bags of salt, and imported silks from distant lands. In public, she played her role perfectly, feeding orphaned children, praising old women's wisdom, dancing gracefully at festivals. But behind the palace walls, a different woman emerged. "Why do you let common farmers sit in your presence?" she would ask King Obi each night. "Their feet dirty your clean floors. Their rough hands shouldn't touch a king's robe." The palace compound held many secrets, but also many ears. Servants gathering water at the stream would whisper, "The queen offered Nwaka the merchant 3 bags of cowries to support putting her brother on the king's council." Such whispers flowed like water until they reached Baba, the royal storyteller. Baba lived in a small compound near the marketplace. The people called him Ears of the Gods because he seemed to hear things before they happened. Every evening, as cooking fires blazed and the moon rose, people gathered to hear his tales. Even the night birds would fall silent when he spoke. Like the best African folk tales, Baba's stories carried hidden meanings. One evening, he told of a beautiful butterfly who married a flower, but the butterfly was really a spider, spinning webs of poison around the flower's heart. The adults exchanged knowing looks. They understood he spoke of Queen Amara's growing danger to the kingdom. The queen had spies everywhere, so palace servants created their own secret language. When they spoke of yesterday's rain, they meant the queen's latest scheme. Spoiled yams meant bribes and night birds singing meant secret meetings. Through these codes, they shared news of her plans to place her family members in every important position. One day, after Queen Amara demanded that King Obi seize a widow's farm, he sought advice from his oldest counsellor, Chidi. Unlike the queen's rich relations, Chidi wore simple robes and walked barefoot, but his wisdom ran deeper than any river. "My friend," King Obi said, settling on a low stool in Chidi's compound. "The queen's greed grows like a fungus after heavy rains. She must return to her family before she poisons the entire kingdom." Chidi poured palm wine into 2 calabash cups, honouring the tradition of peaceful discussion. "Careful, my king. The Nze clan has warriors in 3 villages. They won't accept shame quietly." "Then we must be clever as the tortoise in our grandfather's tales," the king replied. But before they could act, fate stepped in like a dancer at a festival. During a visit to the neighbouring kingdom of Igboland, King Obi met Princess Adana. Unlike Queen Amara, she carried water with the village women and helped old men clear their farms. Children followed her everywhere, drawn to her genuine warmth. However, Princess Adana held a painful secret. She suffered from the falling sickness, epilepsy. In their culture, such afflictions were often seen as curses from angry spirits. When she told King Obi, expecting rejection, he surprised her by taking her hands in his. "Your kindness shines brighter than any physical challenge," he said. "Together we can face whatever comes." But Queen Amara's spies worked faster than palm wine tappers at dawn. Soon she learned of King Obi's plans to send her away and marry Princess Adana. Her beautiful mask cracked like poorly fired pottery. In the dark of night, she met with Kenzo, the richest merchant in 3 kingdoms. Kenzo had always envied King Obi's crown. His own father had once been considered for the throne, but the previous Uzor had chosen Obi's father instead. This old wound festered in Kenzo's heart like an untreated snake bite. "Help me stop this marriage," Queen Amara whispered, "and you shall wear the crown while I remain queen." Unknown to them, a small boy fetching water had heard everything. He ran to Baba's compound, where the old storyteller sat by his fire. That night, Baba told one of the best African folktales ever heard in the kingdom. A story about a sacred crown that could judge men's hearts. The crown, he said, his voice carrying on the night wind, was blessed by 7 medicine men from 7 kingdoms. It knows truth from lies, love from greed. Any who wear it unjustly will face the ancestors' judgment. The story spread through the kingdom like Harmattan fire. Market women told it while selling yams. Farmers shared it while clearing fields. Children sang it while playing in the dust. Soon, even palace guards whispered it among themselves. Meanwhile, Queen Amara and Kenzo worked like termites in a woodhouse. They bribed officials with gold and threatened others with dark secrets. Their masterstroke came when they approached the Uzor, keeper of sacred traditions. The Uzor, whose real name was Namdi, carried old grudges like heavy firewood. Years ago, King Obi had refused to grant special privileges to the Uzor's family, saying, traditional law must apply equally to all. This denial sat in Nnamdi's stomach like spoiled fish. When Kenzo offered him bags of gold and promises of power, the Uzor's resolve melted like shea butter in hot sun. Together they planned the kingdom's shame. On the day Princess Adana arrived for marriage ceremonies, tragedy struck. During the welcome feast, as drummers played and dancers moved, she suffered a seizure. The Queen's supporters began whispering immediately, "See? The gods reject her. They send us clear signs." But King Obi showed his true character. Instead of hiding in shame, he ran to Princess Adana's side. Cradling her head until the seizure passed, he announced, "The gods test our hearts, not our bodies. I choose compassion over prejudice." The next morning, the Uzor called an emergency meeting of the king's council. Wearing his ceremonial robes and carrying his sacred staff, he declared, "The gods have spoken. This cursed woman brings shame to our throne, and our king, bewitched by evil spirits, forgets his dignity." Kenzo, dressed in robes that cost more than a farmer's yearly harvest, stepped forward. "For the kingdom's sake, we must remove him." Some council members protested, remembering years of wise leadership, but gold speaks louder than memory. By sunset, palace guards loyal to the plotters had imprisoned King Obi in a secret room beneath the palace. But they had forgotten about Baba, keeper of the best African folktales and secrets. That night, as dark clouds hid the moon's face, he lit his biggest fire ever. People came from every compound, drawn by drums never heard before. "Listen," Baba said, his voice carrying power like thunder, "to the tale of our sacred crown. Tonight the ancestors themselves watch us. Tomorrow, truth will dance in daylight." The story spread faster than any tale before. Even palace guards, who supported the plotters for gold, began to worry. Some remembered their mothers telling similar stories about the crown's power to judge false kings. The next day, as the Uzor raised the crown to place it on Kenzo's head, nature itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, like a spear from the gods, lightning split the sky. It struck the crown from the Uza's hands, and in that moment, Princess Adana, praying in the shrine room, felt her affliction leave her body like a snake shedding its skin. The crown rose into the air, glowing like a star fallen to earth. It spoke with a voice that shook the palace walls. The truth in men's hearts stands revealed. Suddenly the Uzo fell, his body shaking as Princess Adana's once did. One by one, each person who had plotted against the king suffered the same fate. The curse that had troubled Princess Adana had found new hosts. The crown's judgment thundered on. Uzo, you betrayed sacred trust for gold. Until your last day you shall sweep the marketplace, teaching all who see you the price of corrupt leadership. And you, false friends and plotters, shall carry the burden you mocked. In water and fire, in secret and public, you shall fall as the princess once did, until compassion grows in your hearts. Queen Amara tried to run, but her feet stuck to the ground like they'd taken root. The crown spoke one final time. Your beauty hid poison. Now your outside shall match your inside. Her perfect features twisted and changed until she looked like the darkness in her heart. With a cry that frightened even the marketplace birds, she fled into the forest, never to be seen again. King Obi returned to his throne with Princess Adana, now free from her affliction, as his queen. Together they ruled with wisdom and kindness that still echoes in stories told today. As for Baba, some say he wasn't just a storyteller but a messenger from the ancestors themselves. On quiet nights when the moon is full and the air feels magic-touched, storytellers begin their tales saying, as Baba once told us, in one of the best African folk tales. The kingdom flourished under King Obi and Queen Adana. Their children grew up strong and wise, learning both leadership's power and its responsibilities. The palace stayed open to all who sought help or justice, and the marketplace rang with laughter instead of whispers. Even today, when families gather around evening fires, parents tell this tale to their children. It reminds them that true power comes from love and service, not gold and schemes. As keepers of the best African folktales say, a heart filled with love will always triumph over one filled with greed. And sometimes, on busy market days, people say they still see an old man sweeping, his back bent with age and shame. He serves as a living reminder that the gods watch over those who lead with love and punish those who choose greed's dark path. Thank you for watching. Do you enjoy the story? Tell us where you are watching from and what story you will like next. Please subscribe to Best African Folktales today for more beautiful African folktales.